Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of In Conversation, and this is my HoliYAY series. You see I have my little Christmas tree, courtesy of Whole Foods, not yet decorated. More decorations will definitely be going up in my apartment, we're just not there yet. But what's going on everyone? Thank you for joining. It is Wednesday, right? Yes, Wednesday, December 9th. Today I'm really excited about my guest. He's actually my personal financial coach, and I don't know about you guys, but finances is definitely something that I don't focus on or didn't focus on as much as I should have. And, working with Kadri and, he's a part of the financial gym, and really they are helping me to kind of understand things more, pay more attention, things like that. So really excited to have Kadri on today. Let's see. Hi, Mom. Thank you for joining. But otherwise, yeah, and we're really covering, I thought now would be a really great time to get into this one because we're now in the holiday season. Thanksgiving is over, it's the last month of the year, and there are holidays. You have, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, many, some gift giving holidays. A lot of people will be giving gifts, and it's easy to kind of get off track. And I know that with 2020 has been a lot. What's up, Benique? Hey, what's up? Nice to see y'all. Hey guys, nice. Thanks for joining. So hopefully this conversation with Kadri will help all of us to be able to have some restraint as needed as we get into the holiday season. Also really share a lot of ideas in terms of going into the new year, going into 2021, and kind of how you can have a great approach to your finances, whether you feel like you're doing a great job or not. Either way, hopefully we'll have some tips for you there. But yeah, money stuff is important as much as I'm like, oh, I don't want to think about the details. Just, is it in my account? There's a lot more that I learned working with Kadri. So we will definitely get into that. Hi, Dad. Thank you guys so much for joining. Let's see. I'm not sure that Kadri is in yet. Nope. Oh, he is. Let's see. We'll go ahead so he can join. Let's see. What's up, Craig? Thanks for joining. I really appreciate everyone joining. Hey, Kadri.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So how's your day been? How are things on your end?
Th Things are great. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. Practice gratitude every day. I'm very lucky. Um, and that's, what can I say? It snowed a little bit in New York, so that's always exciting.
I didn't expect that. I looked at
Yeah,
my friends in the group chat. We're like, it's snowing. And I was like, no, it's not. And I looked outside. I was like, oh, it is snowing.
totally. Same thing happened to me. I was on calls and then I looked up and I saw flurries and I was like, oh, a little magic for today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, awesome. What's up, X? Thanks for joining. As you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments section or the question box. But let's just get into it. So, Kadri, can you just tell us a little bit about you, your story, where you're from,
Sure.
how you got to the financial gym, any twists and turns along the way, any of that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the best place to start would be college. So we're going far back. We're going to like 2007 up to now. Around college, I was at Baruch in New York City. I studied political science, and I was just around a lot of business majors, looking to go work for Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. So I was always brushing up against that and always fascinated by it. So I studied economics, entrepreneurship, but I really focused on political science. And then the Great Recession happened, right? That was basically first and second year of college. And so I saw the turmoil that a lack of financial education created. And I myself was in a decent amount of credit card debt. And I had gotten let go of the work that I was doing. But I got lucky and I found part-time work near Wall Street. And that company ended up hiring me full-time. And they're a financial software company, kind of competitors of Bloomberg. And they ended up hiring me full-time once I graduated in 2011, and I stayed with them until 2015. After that, I consulted at a resort in Jamaica for a few months, helped with business operations, and that was a beautiful experience. And
Living in Jamaica?
Yeah, man. I was down there for 3 months, went back for another month to, just do like a follow up, see how things were progressing. We did a tremendous job, me and the general manager, in terms of turning things around. And then I came back, and then I was aimless and lost for about 18 months, just not
Wow.
really sure what direction. The consulting was really cool and it was really exciting. I didn't want to go back to a desk job. And so
Right.
there was this aimlessness for a little bit of, and I racked up credit card debt because even though I was living back with my folks, I love my parents. They've always been there for me. I was working odd jobs here and there, but nothing was really sticking.
Mm,
And it's very frustrating to be in that position.
yeah.
Which is why I'm excited when I work with younger people today, working with the financial gym, because I get that from them. And I totally understand what it feels like to be in this totally unexpected world of uncertainty. So that aimlessness led me down to a couple of other consulting stints, working with a consultant who does implementation of really high-tech accounting software for hedge funds and capital asset companies. And so I did some project management work with him, and I look at him as a mentor. And that was a beautiful experience. But I was still searching, and I ended up working with a life coach for 2 years. And working with that life coach, which was expensive, but totally worth it for my mental and emotional growth,
Yeah.
helped encourage me to look into life coaching. So I went and learned how to life coach through the Coactive Institute, and worked at an Italian restaurant, created a little family there for about 3 years. And then as I'm trying to navigate my life coaching business, I was like, you know what would really be great if I could just find a company already established that does life coaching. So I
Yeah.
started looking, and then I all of a sudden came across the financial gym. And when I was reading the profile, I was like, this is like life coaching, but for finance, which is totally what I've been looking for my whole life, because it was like merging everything I had experienced and learned, plus this newfound skill set.
Yeah.
So I sent my resume to the financial gym, and I had just missed their training class. And the who's now my coworker, but at the time the person that I spoke to, she's like, "Yeah, you just missed it, but we'll keep your resume on file." And when you hear that from a company, any company, you're like,
You're like, okay, whatever.
"Totally, yeah, that's not gonna happen." So I was like, "Cool. Well, would it be okay if I just dropped by randomly one day?" And they were like, "Yeah, you can." So I'm like, "All right." About a month or two goes by. I had been discussing with my cousin, I'm going to name drop here, Leo Coltrane. He's a musician and artist. I highly recommend you check him out. Leo Coltrane.
Hey,
Coltrane, like the jazz
that's
musician.
okay. That's where I was going. Okay.
Yeah. And I was talking to him about the financial gym and how like psyched I was about it. And about a week later, he sends me a picture, and he happened to be doing a voiceover upstairs from the financial gym. I had no idea where the office was. So I was like, oh, the universe is definitely speaking to me here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I went immediately on that day. I showered, went over there. It was one of my days off. And, I asked for the person who I was emailing who
Right.
doesn't live in New York. She lives in North Carolina.
Oh my God.
She happened to be there that week.
Stop. What? This is
So this is a shout out to Joy, my wonderful coworker who happened to be at the financial gym the week I dropped by, and after that it kind of rolled through. They had another hiring class, and I got hired.
that's so cool. Yeah, that I agree. It's definitely like you were guided to like this is where you need to be, for sure.
Yeah, I think we have to like pay attention to signs when they pop up, and you gotta try the path of least resistance as best as we can.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. So, can you talk a little bit about? I know we're talking money, but I'm just curious. When you decided to get a life coach, what sort of led you to decide that was the right decision? And then, in general, what is the benefit of having a life coach?
Um, Mental health is super important. So
Hmm.
whether you're going to see a therapist, a psychiatrist, or you have strong relationships with people that you can be vulnerable and transparent with, mental health is really important. So for me, I was in a dark place, and I was looking for help. And I had tried therapy, and it just didn't stick. I tried it for about 9 months, and for me, I'm an action person. I need a plan, and I need to go after it, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, therapy, I'm just sitting here talking about my feelings. Like, all right. Sometimes I
Right.
felt worse leaving therapy. So maybe it was, just the experience. But ultimately, what I was looking for, I think I Googled like actionable therapy or therapy plus execution. And I dropped on life coaching. And I found my life coach, Hannah Ramat, who's awesome and had experience in therapy.
Oh, wow.
And it turned out to be a tremendous growth over 2 years.
Wow. That's so cool. What's up, everyone who's joining? Thank you guys so much. So, Kadri, in what you do, well, I guess, what do you do at the financial gym? And I'm curious to know, you said you are certified or in life coaching as well. So, how do you bring that together?
Sure. So I'm not certified. I just want to say that I am a graduate of the Coactive Institute's way of coaching.
Okay.
To be certified by the ICF or Coactive, you have to go through another rigorous program, which I haven't done yet.
Oh,
It's on the horizon. But I have all the skill sets. I have coached. I did, coach a number of clients on my own. There aren't any regulations or restrictions for that industry.
okay.
And so the skills that I've learned with coaching has allowed me to listen to my clients at the financial gym. And the financial gym, for those who don't know what it is a place where you can get financially fit the same way you would go to any regular gym and get physically fit. So I am a financial trainer the same way that you go to a gym and you hire a personal trainer to keep you moving, keep you going. So at the financial gym, as a financial trainer, your first session, as you well know, Nikki, is sit down and expose yourself. So it's like talking about your weight, right? It's like, so I weigh this much, I got a little bit here, right?
Yes, it's like everything.
Yeah. I like how vulnerable did you feel?
Very partially because some of the things I needed to bring, I hadn't even really looked into, or I hadn't really taken inventory of a number of things until I got the list of like what I needed. And then I was like, oh, like,
Right.
and questions you ask, I was like, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. So it's like super vulnerable. Like, it's all out there.
Yeah. So that's the first session. And just like when you go meet a physical trainer and they put you on the weight and then they do all the like body fat percentage and the catheter and the pinching, right? Like it's all like, oh, okay.
Yes.
The second session is the actual like sit down, like here's your plan,
Mhm.
right? And so that's the beginning portion. And then after that, you got to just do the work. And your trainer is there to be in your corner to like cheerlead you on, to help adjust your technique, right? If you're like pushing weights. And so at the financial gym, we're just adjusting your numbers, adjusting your budget, being there when you're feeling bad and down. And that happens a lot because our emotions are so tied to finance, and finance is so tied to our emotions.
Mm.
It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing. It's like the way I look at it is if you're the way I look at it is your money is a reflection of where you are mentally and emotionally and even physically.
Hmm. That's interesting.
And you could flip it around and be like, where you are mentally, emotionally, physically is going to show you where your money is.
Yeah.
So if you can get financially fit, that means that you probably can get emotionally, mentally, and physically fit.
Right. It's all tied together.
And if you can do those things as well, if you can get mentally, emotionally, physically fit, you should be able to get financially fit as well. They're all seeping into each other. So mental wellness is super important as well as financial wellness. Because if you're not in a good mental place, you're not going to keep track of your money. You're going to go out and eat. You're going to fall into bad habits.
Yep.
But if you're not putting the work into keeping track of your money, it's going to make you feel bad.
Yeah.
Right. And then so that it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But before we move on, I do want to say, I agree. The model of the financial gym is really interesting, which is what attracted me to it. And shout out to my friend Banique, who is on. She's the one who recommended. I had never heard of the financial gym, but I had spoken to like a traditional financial planner, like one of the other companies. And then I talked to the financial gym. And what I really appreciate is that, you know, at the other companies, essentially they're going to recommend products, and they're going to recommend products from their company. Like, oh, you need life insurance, buy it with us. Oh, you need this. But with the financial gym, yes, you guys give suggestions, but at the end of the day, it's up to me. So here, I'm way more hands in and hands on with my finances, which I thank you for sure, but just helping me to think about things more in depth and differently. Like I have so many spreadsheets running, and I hate Excel. Like Excel is not my thing, but since I've been working with you, I'm like, oh, let me do a spreadsheet for that. Let me do a spreadsheet for that. And especially also having a small business, my LLC, you know, just thinking about business finances and personal finances and all of that. So the financial gym model is super interesting. And if anyone watching is interested in, like, I would say this is not an official thing, but point of view, my opinion, if you really want to get in to your finances yourself rather than someone just looking and telling you what to do, financial gym is awesome for that. So
Yeah. I wish it was around when I was in my 20s.
yeah.
I would have been a client first. Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about financial wellness. So can you explain what financial wellness is, or what is considered financial wellness?
So it is a very contextual question, right? It depends on where you are. But financial wellness is not paycheck to paycheck. Financial wellness is having a plan. Financial wellness is financial education. Financial wellness is, you know, not having heart palpitations because you don't know what to do. But that can happen to someone who's making $30,000 a year, and that can happen to someone who's making $30 million a year.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but it's true. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. The only difference between us are the circumstances in which we grew up. And so based on that, financial wellness is about you being in the right place to excel and to get into a better financial place for yourself and for the generations after you, your kids, your grandkids, even your family, you know, laterally.
Yeah, so it goes beyond just you, the one person. It's like beyond.
Totally. It's community. You have to think about it from a community perspective, right? Even not even family related, just like your neighborhood. If you're making money and you're not in debt, then you can go out and buy groceries. You can go to a restaurant, and so you're supporting your community.
Yeah.
If there's no work, then it affects everyone, and we're seeing that today. Now, there are other harder numbers that you can look at for financial wellness. Like there are the digits that we have, like your credit score, you know, your DTI, your debt to income ratio, your credit utilization ratio. There are numbers here that you can talk about financial wellness as well. So for example, you don't want your credit utilization ratio to be over 35%. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of us were way over that. Why don't you want that? Well, it's because it affects your credit score. It's 30% of your credit score.
Yeah.
You know, and then you want to make sure you're making on-time payments all the time. That in a way is its own financial wellness, because if you can meet your obligations, then you're healthy, right? If you want to think of it in that way.
Yep. And the other thing that is similar is, you know, automating. You got me into like automating payments. And even that, because I remember when we first had that conversation, I was like, I don't know if I can automate because I freelance, you know, the money flows differently at different times. But even feeling when I got to the point where I could automate, you know, monthly bills, I'm like, oh, I feel like
right?
I'm great.
Just release, like you just feel good. You could breathe.
Yes, no late payments. Like, this is awesome.
Totally. And that's the goal. That's financial wellness, right? Because now here and here, there's a release.
Yeah. Yep. That is true. There's a question, but we only see part of it. What is the average age of, and we don't
Our
know.
clients, of our clients, I can see it on my end.
I think it's,
Um,
oh, yep, you're right.
that's a great question. I don't know the average age of our clients. That I could find out. Um, and then we can, I guess, post my email afterwards if anybody has questions.
Sure.
Um, but I will say that I have clients from all age groups. I have 18-year-old clients and I have 60-year-old clients. So the financial gym is for everyone. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter how much money you make. I mean, we're more oriented towards like everyday people, or people who make less than $250,000, because if you think about a traditional financial advisor, what they're looking for as the requirement for them to assist you is that you have assets of $250,000, because they want to take a portion off the top of that. They're going to take that money and they're going to invest it for you, and then they're going to make a percentage off of that. We're like a gym where you're just paying a subscription. So you can have $1 million, you could have no money. You could be in the negative. We have clients that start out with us there.
Yeah.
We don't care where you are. Our only prerogative, our only agenda, our only goal is to get you to where you want to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey guys, your coworker said 26 to 42.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. So one thing you said was having a plan, and I know I've told you this before, but I think that was one of the most like, oh, moments for me because, we got together, I think, as I was finishing my taxes for last year. And I looked at the amount of money I made and I was proud of that. But when I looked at essentially what I had to show for it, I was kind of like, there should be more. I should have done better.
Where's my money?
Yeah, where's my money? What did I invest in anything? Did I pay anything off? Like, that. But you said it's not necessarily about it's you said I didn't have a plan. You're like, you just didn't have a plan. And I was, oh, you're right. So how does one go about forming a plan?
Sure. So you want to ask yourself very specific questions.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do you want to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
Like this comes back again to like human beings. We are very much, believe it or not, we spend a lot of our time in the past and we spend a lot of the time in the future. We don't spend too much time in the present.
Wow, that's interesting.
The past is usually like, should've, would've, could've.
Yeah.
The future is, I wish, I wish, I wish. Mm-hmm. But none of that is, what do I want?
Yeah.
What can I achieve? Right? It's not concrete questions. Mm-hmm. So the plan starts there. What is it you're looking to achieve? So if you say, I want to get a new job, that's concrete. What are you going to do about it to get a new job? Mm-hmm. I want to make $100,000. I want to save $100,000, right? These are concrete wants, concrete destinations, if you want to think of it as, we're traveling. Yeah. And once you know where you're going, you know how to plan for it. So if you're $20,000 in credit card debt and you need to get out of it, then your whole focus needs to be, how do I get out of credit card debt? Yeah. And then you start to ask yourself other questions like, well, do I make enough money to get out of credit card debt? How much do I need to pay to get out of credit card debt? What are my interest rates? What is credit card debt, right? Like you start to go down the rabbit hole so you can solve that one problem. By asking all those questions, you start to create a plan.
Okay. That's interesting. So that's like a great idea for overall plan, but is there any?
I lost.
Oh,
I lost you for a little bit.
Okay, but I'm back. Am I back? Okay. Am I back? Do you see me?
You're back, so I didn't hear your question.
What about like seasonal plans? Like now we're in the holiday season, and essentially it's not goal in terms of selling, or saving necessarily, but what kind of plan or steps can we do to make a plan like, hey, it's holiday season. I want to get, gifts for my loved ones, or I want to travel or whatever, but I don't want to go overboard. How could we kind of get a plan together with that?
So doing it now is a little too late. I'll just be honest, because
It is so.
couple of weeks ago, a couple of weeks away. But
Okay.
now that you're here, you have a whole year to plan for next year. So I would take a moment to view how much you're spending on gifts for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a specific budget for my immediate family.
Mm-hmm.
I also, and I try to stay within that budget. And what I do is I save a little bit every month to that amount for when I know I'm going to do those purchases.
Oh, saying ahead of time, saving before the holiday.
Having a gift fund.
Never thought about that. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, because like think about it this way: as an entrepreneur, as a freelancer, you have subscriptions that you pay every year,
Yes.
once a year. It's once a year, so you forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you get like a $200 hit if you got like a Squarespace website, or $110 if you got Dropbox, or $127 if you have Amazon Prime, right? You got all these one-off big expenses that come in, and sometimes they all come in one shot, and you're like, ah.
Oh,
So yeah, so the best way to prepare for that is to plan ahead. You know they're coming, so
right.
you might as well be like, okay, it's gonna come in a year. I am 6 months away or 12 months away.
Right.
How much do I need to save for, how much is it, and how much do I need to save to hit that amount when I get charged it?
Yeah. Well, that makes so much sense. I hadn't thought about that part. But
So that's right. Yeah. So that's the being in the present and the future having a goal part. Now, if you're in it now, you need to be creative, lead with your heart,
mhm.
and maybe not with your money. If you don't have it, you don't have it. And um, gift giving doesn't necessarily have to be something that's super expensive. It can be something that's truly out of love. And that's really the original intent of these holidays, right? Is to be together with family and friends and to show our affection and our warmth and our love. A card really does do the trick.
Yeah, you're right. What do you think are some of the biggest barriers, and maybe we've discussed a little bit, but barriers that people face in not necessarily just a plan, but sort of thinking about or pursuing financial wellness?
They don't know what to do and they don't know where to start. So here's the first place you need to start. And this is another concrete financial wellness, and that's having an emergency fund.
Mm,
An emergency fund is exactly that. It's for emergencies. What's an emergency? It could be a root canal, right? Dental plans are awful. They'll only give you like one root canal for like $2,500 every 10 years or something like that. It's ridiculous. Now, if you need two root canals, SOL,
yeah.
basically. So an emergency fund would cover that.
Okay.
I've heard of people being in their car and the transmission just pops out, like some crazy stuff. What do? You need to get to wherever you need to go. You got to call the mechanic, get that tow truck, right? You need money right there and then.
Mm,
You don't want to go to a credit card and go to debt because that's going to cost you even more money because of how high interest rates are.
right.
So the very first pillar of financial wellness is saving money, and specifically to what's called an emergency fund. That's
Okay.
the very first one. That can give you peace of mind and a sense of security or earth under your feet so
Right.
that you're like, oh, I got solid ground to stand on.
Right. Yep. That makes a lot. For you had mentioned, I think, being an entrepreneur. So if we're talking like entrepreneurs or small business owners, freelancers like me, are there any common mistakes maybe that we make?
Totally. And I grew up in a freelance family. So my dad works in television production. I've done freelance. I've worked as a real estate agent as well. I've done life insurance. All of that is commission based. That's freelance.
Yeah.
The first thing all freelancers forget is that you got to pay the government money. Nobody likes to do it, but when you work for a company, they do it for you, so you don't think about it.
Right. They will get you. I'm telling y'all, they will
They're
get
gonna get you. They're gonna come after you one
they
way or another. So you might as well be prepared. It's like gift giving, but just reluctantly giving that
yeah.
gift. Um, that said, you know, you as a small business or a freelancer entrepreneur, anyone who's making money that isn't having taxes taken out ahead of time, also known as 1099 work because of the form, you want to save at a minimum of 25% of whatever you earn. So if you make $1,000, $250 is not yours. That's the government's.
Right. And
You
that
know, ideally you're saving 30%. Ideally.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That would be the first thing. The next one is, and this is the one that all freelancers and when you're getting started, it's the trap that you all fall into. And this comes back down to education and, you know, how we are taught as a society about money. And that's, as a freelancer, you can make $10,000 this month and $2,000 next month, and then no money the following month, and then $20,000 the following month, right? It's like, it rains, it pours, and then it's like, it's a dry spell, it's a drought. So the common pitfall there is that you get the 10 grand, you're like, boom, I got money, this, right? You're happy, whatever. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to make a list, and this comes back down to financial wellness. You want to make a list of all of your expenses. So you know you got rent, you know you got your electric bill, you know you got maybe your car insurance, you know maybe you got your car lease or car loan, right? You know what you got to pay.
Right.
So write down all of your fixed expenses. Fixed, what does that mean? What does it sound like? It sounds like something it is fixed, it is sticky, it is there, it's going to be there this week, next week, next month, right? It's always going to be there. Rent is one of those things, right? Write all of those down. If you can write all of those down, then you know how much money you need to make to cover those things. Okay. Then the tricky part is restaurants and going out to party and dine and groceries and entertainment. Yeah, all of that, right? So that you need to know yourself, and you need to like keep yourself on a budget, whether it's going to be $500 a month or $5,000 a month. You need to know what your budget is based on how much money you seem to be bringing in regularly. That means that once you know you're fixed and variable and you're saving towards an emergency fund, you don't touch more than that. So if you make $10,000 this month, but your fixed is $2,000, you're saving $1,000, and your variable is $2,000, that's $5,000 that you don't touch. That should just be in an account.
Ooh, I needed this plan last year.
Yeah. You're here now. It's progress.
I'm here now.
And you've done such a great job so far. So
thank you. I really feel like a grown up. Like, hey, I actually understand my finances. I know where things are flowing and all of that. So I mean, I agree. It definitely like is a weight lifted off, even if it's not the best news, even if yes, I still am paying off credit cards or whatever, but just like knowing where things stand, that in itself is like, whew, man, this is great.
Right. Light at the end of the tunnel. You know, there's a destination.
Absolutely.
A question for you, how much clearer does the landscape seem to you now?
Significantly more clear. I mean, it's definitely the plan. And I think it's just my approach mentally and physically, my approach to spending and things, because I was very much like, oh, I got it in my bank account. Cool. I can go on this trip. Yeah, I can pay for this flight for that. I can take people out to dinner for that. And it's right. Like true. And I have been, generally I'm really good keeping up with bills and things like that. But I think I wasn't thinking about like, oh, let's set that 30% aside for taxes, and let's, you know, I kind of like ballparked it, and most months or most pay periods I would put it aside, but like if I wanted to go on this trip, then I'm not gonna put it aside this pay period.
Right, the government doesn't need my money, I need my money.
Go to Europe, and then you know, whatever's in the account, hopefully it'll be enough, which it wasn't. So there was that. But yeah, overall I think it is a lot more clear to me, and I I just understand, you know, I guess my approach to finances, they're less scary in general. I also, you know, do know the importance of sitting down and having like, whether it's your Money Monday or your Finance Friday or whatever it is, which I definitely still have a hard time doing that, but just dedicating, it really is important to sit down and dedicate time to
Totally.
like not just a balance your checkbook, although no one probably does that because I do it like I'm an old fashioned person, but not just a balance your checkbook and pay bills, but like other financial things you need to account for. And you know, Banique, who I said joined, I have another friend who joined the financial gym, and we've had conversations like, no, I just sat down for like 2 to 3 hours and like got deep into my finances. And it's kind of like, ugh, I don't feel like doing it. But afterwards, I feel so like, yes, I did it.
Yeah, power. There's control. There it isn't that dark corner in your room that you don't really know what's lurking over there. Yeah.
That's what it was. And I was like, I don't know. And yes, there's still things. I think I'm what, 6 months about? I think I'm about
Mm-hmm.
10.
Yeah.
There are still things that I, you know, need to understand further and, you know, things I need to put in place. But in these 6 months for sure, I definitely, you know, understand things more. And I just feel like I'm more dialed into my finances than I was before.
And that's the key. And I mean, it's a process. Like no one gets to 100%. Not even the financial trainers. Like
Yeah.
you're always growing with your money because once you settle on one thing, like once you got your emergency fund funded, once you're out of debt, once you're making more money, there's still more to do. There's still more to learn. There's still more on the horizon of
Right.
what's available. And so we're always learning. I love this job because I'm always learning new things. I'm always thinking about other strategies, you know, and it is a constant evolution. It's constant growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what's up. Everyone who's joining, Cecilia, what's up? Or Cecilia.
Cecile, yeah, I think that's my cousin.
Oh, okay. But thank you guys for joining. Feel free to drop questions in the box. We're just chatting away about finances and grown up things. um, so, thinking like larger picture, I know you said for a person, if you will, that you know everything is connected. It's not just financial wellness; it's physical, it's mental. So, if we think larger, kind of things that are going on in society, you know, we've had a lot of uh, you know, realizing that there's a lot of injustice, social injustice, and things like that. Do you think there's any connection to financial wellness and you know, finances in the grand scheme of things?
Totally. I mean, money is the thing that's uh, behind every type of transaction and every type of law and every type of rule. So it seeps into it. Money is just a weird thing that really isn't autonomous. It isn't its own thing. It's driven by human beings and their desires and their prerogatives. So whether they're nefarious or not, money is involved there. So what we see today is a legacy of money, you
Mm,
know. So obviously it's a much more complex issue because we have politics and history, but you look at the way cities fund programs. You look at the way highways are built
mm-hmm.
or were built. They were meant to divide neighborhoods. They were meant to, you know, do redlining and things like that. What pushes that? It's money.
Right.
You look at right now in New York City, it's development of all these buildings, and these buildings get tax rebates, you know, as long as they put like 20% of affordable housing. But if you look at the affordable housing, I don't know how really affordable it is when you look at the enormity of the pay gap that exists.
Right.
There's a statistic that when you count of inflation, the actual median or average salary of Americans across this country hasn't risen since the 1970s.
Wow.
Like that's just like astronomical. Now, again, it's complex because when you think about the quality of life based on things like technology, like we're able to have this type of conversation that you wouldn't be able to have in the 70s
Right.
for a somewhat affordable type of thing. Those things tend to balance it out. But like, you know, I was talking to someone the other day. I had done the math years ago about what it would cost to live in New York City and still be able to save And just a baseline. And the number that I came out with on just on my own math was $90,000. Like you would need $90,000 just to be able to afford a, you know, average one bedroom apartment on your own, right? I take it for granted living in New York that you're supposed to have roommates and things like that. But you travel anywhere else, people can afford their own places, but the cost of living is it's
Nice.
crazy.
Fully loaded.
Right.
Like washer dryer. There's a pool, and you get a parking space. Like amazing.
Totally. So when you look at the
Oh, hold on, I can't hear you. I think you froze, or maybe you're coming back. Let's see. Hold on. You're still okay. There you go.
when you look at the ups and I have an alert to keep me off at Instagram no more than 30 minutes a day.
Okay.
So I forgot to turn it off before our conversation. So yeah, my phone's like, hey, yo, you've been on Instagram for too long.
Long time.
Yeah, there is just that difference between cities, locations, and then what we're getting paid. And then when you look at that from each group, right? When we talk about minorities and we look at it from a historical perspective, then you see all the messed up calculus and how unequitable things are. You go to the projects in Brooklyn, there are no restaurants around there. There's barely any good grocery stores. You know, you may have a bodega or corner store or deli nearby, but it's pretty desolate. So how are those communities supposed to thrive, right? A lot of those areas are not even close or accessible to public transportation. How does that make any sense? Right. So what pushes that? It's money, because money gets pushed forward to places like the Williamsburg or, you know, what they call South Brooklyn, and things like that, because it's accessible, it's close to the city, right? It's logical, but it's not equitable.
Right.
And so you go back decades and you just see it on every single level. And then you add in all the racist policies and prejudice politics. You add all of that in, and it's a compounding effect.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. Hold on. Question. Oh, Cecile's coming from Montreal. Thank you for joining from Montreal. We appreciate it. How long do you typically keep a client, especially when he or she is now in a good place financially?
I mean, it's really up to the client, you know, because like I said before, there's always something to learn and always some kind of assistance needed or way to talk about it. Sometimes it's good to just have someone who you know is knowledgeable, that you can talk through things out instead of you just trying to figure it out. So our CEO, Shannon, her oldest client is 7 years, 8 years.
Wow.
They've totally transformed their financial life. And Shannon has a bunch of clients that have been with her for like 5, 6, 7 years. I think there were some statistics, not statistics, but we had some numbers where like they've quadrupled their net worth or something like that in that time. So it's a personal choice, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, you've been with me for 6 months, right? You can, yeah, I mean, you could say tomorrow, but probably we're going to be working together probably for at least the next year, right?
Yeah, definitely the person that does like to have someone to just bounce stuff off of, even if it's not like getting deep in the weeds. But I mean, we do that now, but
yeah,
for all that's cleared up, I still would be like bouncing things off of you and just getting your perspective for sure.
Yeah, there's a ton of clients that have been with us for years, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Like it's, you know, it's just part of the process. Because once you have your emergency fund done and you're out of credit card debt, if that's your situation, well, now you need to look forward to, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to have a travel fund? Are you going to have kids? Are you getting married? Are you set for retirement? Are you trying to build a business, right? All of these things are money-driven questions, and you need someone there to help guide you through, the paperwork, the things to think about that you might not know about, right? It's having that guide that's there.
Yep, I agree. And for sure, that's what helps me the most is having that, you know, all of that advice and guidance and everything like that. So what are some financial myths you've heard or like things that people say, like inaccuracies, like, no, that's not a thing? Or, yeah, yeah, myth.
It's my timer again. I just turned it off finally. Um, well, that's a trick, by the way, actually. So yeah, let me mention this because it's disrupted our conversation a couple of times.
Okay.
Basically, a trick you can do if you have an iPhone, let's say you like order Seamless a lot, or
Uh-huh.
you're always buying things on a particular app. If you go into your settings and you put a block on it or a screen time, it's screen time in your app and your iPhone, you
Yeah,
can set a certain amount of time you're allowed on the app. So I have clients who like do a lot of Uber Eats or Grubhub or Seamless, and they're
yeah,
spending hundreds of dollars and they're trying to curb that. It's hard to curb a habit. So
right,
one way you can do it is create friction, create a barrier. So one of those barriers is create a screen time limit. I usually say put it for like a minute or two because before you can scroll through the food you want and check out, it says get off the app, you know? And then at that point, it gives you a moment to think to yourself, do I really want to order this food or can I, move on? So for me, I've set screen times for Instagram to be 30 minutes a day.
okay.
I'm rarely ever on it more than that. So that's why we had the disruption. I have to remember to turn it off next time.
That's okay. Actually, you're about to answer the other question, but since we're talking about apps,
Yeah,
really quick and go to like financial apps that
sure.
are helpful for keeping yourself in check.
Sure. So that's a great method. There's mint.com.
Okay.
There's the desktop version and the cell phone version. The cell phone version is a little bit better from a budgeting standpoint.
Okay.
The desktop version they're linked, so they're not separate, but they look differently, or they look different. The desktop version is really good to just see all of your accounts in one place.
Okay.
And that can be really useful, and you have all of your transactions that are there. Other apps are Trackit, you have Funded, you have, my favorite is one called Cash Flowy. And this one I think is really good for people who make different amounts every week. So like when you work in a restaurant or if you do like delivery or things like that, you may not get $1,000 every week as a paycheck. Maybe some weeks it's 900 and some weeks it's 400.
Mm-hmm.
Cash flow tracks the cash flow of your money. So you can project out over time how much money you'll have based on how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. So I really like that one because it helped me save and helped keep me accountable because I had to always put in my expenses and my income.
Okay.
So that's another one. There's so many out there. There's spending, which I think connects to your iWatch. There's Good Budget. There's a very popular one called YNAB, which is based on a zero based budgeting system, meaning you account for every single dollar, which can drive some people nuts. Like it drives me nuts. So I don't use that as a way to keep myself in check. But I have a friend and former client who loves it. And and he's doing amazing with it. So you gotta just try things out, give yourself some time, at least give yourself 6 weeks, because you have to think if you're getting paid once a week or twice a week or monthly, you need to see what it looks like when the money comes in and when the money goes out. So at least a minimum of 6 weeks.
Right. Okay. Um,
The
with
myths?
Go ahead.
No,
Yes.
no,
Go,
no.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So myths, the common one that I hear is that you need to use your credit card all the time. If not, it'll affect your credit score. That's a myth. That's a lie. It's not true.
Okay. No.
You can use your credit card once every 3 months, once every 6 months, once a year.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know,
what is I know it's not using it frequently, but what is isn't, you have to build credit somehow. So you do at some point have to use it, but you're saying it just doesn't have to be that frequently.
yeah, I mean, if you're really concerned about it, I would put a subscription on your credit card, like a Netflix
Okay.
or a Spotify, and then that's it. Like you don't chase the points. That's a issue a lot of people have. It's like, yeah, but I'm getting points. I'm like, yeah, but you're also not paying off your statement balance, and it's on purpose. The banks are doing it on purpose. They are programming you to chase the points and spend the money. It's not your fault.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
They make it seem like the points are great. For every dollar, you get an extra point, and you can. It doesn't work in your favor.
That's so true. That's so
What
funny.
work?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm laughing especially because my dad is like the points guy. But
Hmm.
to his credit, he actually is very good at turning around and paying whatever it is. So he gets the points and he pays it off. So I tried it. I'm not that good at it. Like, I let it go, like, oh, I'll pay it off later. And then it stacks up. So I have stopped doing that. But my dad is like a master at it. Like, crazy.
Yeah, there is a way to do it,
Hmm.
and if you can do it, then you're beating the system.
Right.
So here's an idea, basically, of a really simple way to understand it. Most of these reward or travel cards, they offer like 60,000 points if you spend $3,000 or more within the first 3 months.
Yep.
So before you go after that card and think that you're going to be spending 3 grand over the next 3 months, think about what big, large purchases you have coming up. Are you moving soon? Do you need to buy a new computer or a new whatever? And
Yep.
save up for that item or for that trip or for that expense.
Yeah.
Once you save that cash, then get the card.
Oh, and then pay right away.
Then put all of that stuff on the card, pay it off immediately, and then you put your Spotify on the card and you're done. That way you get the 60,000 points, which could be equal to maybe a round trip flight or some
Right.
hotel stays or whatever. And now you're winning. Now you're getting ahead of the banks. But once you do that bonus thing and then you start trying to charge the card at every restaurant or everything, unless you're keeping yourself on a really strict budget of saying, I only go out and spend $500 on restaurants every month and I pay that off and I don't spend more than that, then that works.
Right.
But otherwise, you're chasing the points.
Yeah. No, that's smart. And it goes back to what you were saying about essentially planning ahead. So the
Yeah.
same with the travel fund, or like you were saying for the holidays, plan ahead, save a little bit over the course of time, and then it works out.
Right. And so for the holidays, you could use your credit card for the gifts and get your cash back or your points. It's totally fine because you know you were going to buy those things anyway and you've saved for it.
Right. Versus like, I wasn't going to buy it, but I need the points on my card.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, all right. Well, we are winding down on time, but I thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who has joined, tuned in, asked questions. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share?
Yeah. One really important thing I think we all don't do enough of is have self-compassion and self-forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Especially today. We have so many distractions. We have so many things on our mind. It's
Right.
really easy to have negative self-talk and to like beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
So avoid that. Practice gratitude, practice forgiveness for yourself, gratitude for yourself, compassion for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take a moment for yourself every day.
Yeah.
And that can do wonders for your finances and for your whole wellness.
That's great advice. Yeah. It's interesting because we haven't talked about the fact I'm sure I've experienced it, but we haven't talked about how everything is so connected, but it really is. So, I mean, that
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for them.
There's a really cool book by James Clear called Atomic Habits,
Okay.
and it's fascinating because it's all about how there's just little cues throughout your day that make you do something else, and that not everything you do is actually absolutely a choice.
Mm-hmm.
There's triggers,
Yeah.
and being more self-aware, noticing those triggers, will help you lead a more fulfilling and effective life. And we don't realize it, but there's a ton of triggers with our money. So it could be anyone, but you could be like, feeling down. You may not know it, but every time you feel down, you may order Chinese food.
Yeah. Hmm. That's so interesting. So interesting. Well, thank you so much. Again, Kadri works with the Financial Gym. I'm a member, super happy. My other friend who's on is a member. So what's the best way to either get in contact with you and or the gym?
Well, you can go to the Financial Gym website, and I encourage everyone to do that, even to just peruse.
Mhm.
You can schedule a call. There's a big button there that says schedule call, and you'll be connected with a warm-up caller, and you'll have a 20-minute conversation with that warm-up caller who is a client, an active client. And we have them as warm-up callers because we want potential clients to interact with someone who's actually going through the experience, you
Right.
know. And then they'll pair you with a trainer that they think will fit your style, and you're just having a casual conversation with them. You can also email me directly at kadri at fingyms.com. So that's KADRI at FINGYMS.com. And I'm glad to answer your questions and talk to you a little bit more, sign you up, connect you with another trainer, whatever will get you to where you'd like to be.
Cool. Thank you. And it's interesting you were talking about the warm up caller and oh my goodness, what was I gonna say? It was such a good connection. And I was like, right. And then oh, definitely in my warm up call, I specifically asked for someone who's used to working with freelancers because everyone doesn't understand that lifestyle. Everyone doesn't understand that cash flow. So for sure, guys, make recommendations on what you need, like
Right.
super helpful.
Totally.
So all right, well, thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
have a great evening. Thank you
You
guys
too.
again. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.